The time is the early 2000s. The place is somewhere in southern Algeria. I can vividly remember my father standing in the corner of the room watching Al Jazeera as it showed the scenes of small, frail Palestinian kids in their kufiyas throwing rocks at tanks and aiming at a fully equipped army. I remember my father's excitement as he praised God and said, "This looks just like a modern version of David versus Goliath." I remember Mohammed al-Durra and his father desperately trying to protect him as his hands collapsed, not from fear or shock, as I once thought, but from the amount of shots he had taken, rendering him powerless and banging his head on the wall as an only response. I remember the echoes of Talal Abu Rahma's voice saying, "Mat al-walad, mat al-walad," over and over again. I still remember the sheer horrors I've seen in Dhamir al-Arabi's music video as my siblings watched it over and over again, crying every time I saw Huda Ghalia's scene running and screaming at the beach, looking for what's left of her family. I remember Julia Boutros's Muqawim and Win al-Malayin, which was a very loved song in our home. I remember the amount of articles dedicated for the Palestinian cause in my Al-Arabi Saghir magazine. And I oftentimes wondered, why was I exposed to such horrors at such a young age? Why did my father always stood up to watch Al Jazeera even though he could have sat down, especially after a long day at work? I oftentimes wondered why he insisted on keeping us involved and hooked on Ahmed Mansour's Shahid ala al-Asr and Faisal al-Qasim's Al-Ittijah al-Mu'akis. And why did he insist on us knowing Ahmed Yassin's full story? Why did he insist on us knowing and learning and remembering history at such a young age? But as I grew older, I understood that my father had a foresight. David this time didn't beat Goliath. Just not yet. As I've come to know that Goliath had been waging a war, an intellectual one, that is, on the youth that didn't get the memo and that didn't take the time to learn their history. You see, Goliath made mediocrity and degeneracy fun, appealing and attractive, and he even monetized it, until the voice of truth was deemed boring, pretentious, and hypocritical. You see, Goliath understood that a docile youth is an easily controllable youth. So he had been on a mission for all these years to convince the youth that money and followers are the most important commodity and they must be protected at all costs, even if it means throwing your principles out of the window, and even if it means buying your silence. But my father knew, he understood that one day those convictions he instilled in me and my siblings and those images would protect me and give me one good thing, which is principles. Today, I'm not talking about my father alone. I'm talking about yours too. I'm talking about the men who raised the elites of this generation, who despite everything they faced, didn't bail and refused to be silent, and who raised their voices and didn't succumb to the evils of wealth and fame. To the ones who understood history and who saw the truth that this cause isn't the Palestinians alone, the ones who knew that this fight isn't over a little piece of land, but it's an intellectual, religious war on all of us. Fast forward to October 7th. It's now us who hold our shiny phones watching Al Jazeera live. It's us who stand in anticipation and stress as we watch Wael Dahduh's entire family being wiped out, as we watch Reem's grandfather hugging her for one last time, as we watch Sidra and Suzanne running in the field, smiling and laughing with not a single care in the world. We can clearly see that Goliath is alive and thriving, but not for so long, as God stated in His holy book. Today, after 76 years of oppression and 20 plus years of us being present and watching this oppression, it is up to us to speak and advocate, to share and post, to boycott people and products, to not let the cause vanish and not to let the Palestinian voices dwindle, to not let the lives of 35,000 Palestinians go for nothing. Don't let anyone convince you that your voice doesn't matter, your share doesn't matter, your boycott doesn't matter, your block doesn't matter. And always remember, spread the word and free Palestine until Palestine's free.